Hi, everyone. My name is Haley Korf. I am your vision impaired host for the podcast. We are going to go ahead and do a part one and part two for this episode. We are just so excited about the conversations we're having, but it took a little bit longer than we anticipated. So we're going to do part one, part two. And so for right now, we're going to do a quick ad and then get right back into it. So thank you so much for waiting around. We really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Here at The Whole Person, we believe everyone deserves the chance to live independently and with confidence, regardless of ability. And to make that happen, we need volunteers like you. By joining us, you'll have the opportunity to support impactful areas, from administration and event planning to hands-on roles like assisting with our blind and low vision programs or helping at our special events like the Big Dill Classic and Expressions Art Exhibition. Every role, whether it's outreach, community engagement, or even offering pro bono professional services, makes a lasting difference. The Whole Person serves over 2,500 individuals annually, and with your help, we can make their dreams a reality. As a volunteer, you'll become part of a vibrant, supportive community dedicated to empowering people with disabilities. Our roles are flexible, meaningful, and tailored to fit your interests and expertise. Ready to make a difference? Visit thewholeperson.org/volunteer to explore our wide range of volunteer opportunities and get involved. Together, let's make independence accessible for all. Just a little of your time can lead to amazing change.
Hey everyone, I'm Haley. Welcome to the whole podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Super excited for our person that we are interviewing today. We have Doug Pappert. He's a mobility specialist, and we will explore that a little bit more. But I just wanted to say that this is a great person to interview and get to learn more about this specific skill because he's actually the individual who taught me how to use my mobility cane, so that I am a safe individual when I'm crossing streets and not stopping in the middle of the intersection. So we'll get to that later. But I would like to hear your perspective on what a mobility instructor does.
Okay. Well, again, my name's Doug Pappert, and I'm a certified orientation and mobility specialist, COMS. And basically, what I do is I work with individuals that are blind and visually impaired, and I teach them independent travel skills. So that incorporates a whole lot of different things.
Yeah.
Luckily, because it kind of keeps it different every day. But it's all about giving them back their independence, and it's all about getting them out into the world to live their life and be productive, and hopefully, just kind of help them out in that aspect.
Yeah. So, okay, here's a question. How long was the schooling for this type of certification degree?
It is a certification. There are degrees, and you can actually get an undergraduate and a master's degree depending on which schools. I think there's only one currently that's offering an undergraduate degree, but
Whoa.
I think most of them are still just graduate level programs
Okay.
with that. And it took me at the time about 2 years, and most of that was online. I think most of the programs anymore are online. There are some in-house ones around the country,
Hmm.
but it took me about 2 years
Oh, wow.
to get that
Okay.
done. Yeah. But that was
Um,
just going part-time, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. How long would it take if you weren't going part-time? A year? Maybe? Is that
Maybe a
stretching it?
little bit more of the year but there's also time that you have to do student teaching work and like an internship level activities. Those are the ones that usually take the biggest part of the time.
Okay.
Try to get those hours in so you can get your certification because there's a certain number of hours you have to have in both of those areas before that you can even test
Okay.
for certification.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, so what got you interested in being a mobility specialist?
Well, when I first got interested in it, I was actually a voc rehab counselor for Missouri Rehab Services for the Blind. And that was a fine enough job, but it just got to the point where I just thought wanted to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like what the orientation and mobility folks were doing was real interesting because it always seemed like they were always out there, was always doing something different. It just wasn't kind of a paper pushing job. It was an actual doing kind of position.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody that was doing that kind of job seemed to really like what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and that was nice. And when I started asking around, when I would talk to the folks in even in the other offices around the state, the only people that really enjoyed what they were doing, it seemed like between the rehab teachers and the counselors and everybody, it was like the O&M folks seemed to be the only people that really liked what they were doing. And even some of the management folks joked about the fact that the only way those positions ever became available is when somebody retired.
Oh,
So that should be telling you something too. And it
yeah.
was, their big joke was, yeah, you could always tell who the O&M people are because they're the ones in shorts.
Yes, you are not wrong.
Oh, that was a direct quote from Bill Haygood, who was one
Yeah.
of our deputy directors at one point.
You are not wrong.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, you guys do so much when you're training somebody, and you have to be able to go with whatever's happening in
Well,
some situations.
exactly, and it's an appropriate thing too. It's like obviously you're going to be out. I mean, that's one of the cardinal rules of instruction is you have to dress appropriately for for what you're doing,
Yeah.
and but yeah, I mean, so and everybody has different needs. I mean, somebody just might be able to or might need to be able to find the bus stop. But somebody else might literally need to run through their entire weekly routine where it's like going to the store, going to the laundromat,
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever, doing their shopping. And so you might be doing 12, 13, 14 different things in the community, and some other person might just need one.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
just never know. You just have to tailor it to that individual.
Yeah. So, when you're assessing the individuals for what kind of services they do need, do they always know the services that they need?
No, not always. And unfortunately, particularly with adults, and now at this point in my career, normally I'm normally working with kids, and they really don't fully understand
Yeah.
what they really need. But even with some
Yeah.
adults, though, you get that learning curve because a lot of folks, particularly if they do go, have vision loss later in life, a lot of them seem to think like, "Oh, my life's over. I can't do anything."
Mm-hmm.
Those
Mm-hmm.
kind of thoughts, but unfortunately, you just have to try to, focus that and say, "Hey, listen, you can still do all these things. We just need to figure out how you're going to do them."
Yeah, it's just a difference of viewpoint
Exactly.
and confidence.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the huge thing there is just the confidence to be able to do it.
That's the huge thing.
That's the huge thing. That's the
Huge,
biggest thing.
huge,
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 huge.
huge. Yeah, that.
We joke about that because I know that his accent, if you will, is different than a lot of people when he says that word.
Hmm.
Sorry. Had
Nice.
to. So when you see people who have had vision and then lost it later on, is it harder to work with individuals in that scenario than somebody who has not really had vision and kind of, let's say, was born with it and is just now like, oh, maybe I need to refresh on my mobility skills, or maybe I relocated and need some guidance?
Well, both of those scenarios have their own, you know, positives and negatives.
Hmm.
I mean, with folks that had vision loss early or just started with almost nothing, a lot of times, they don't have a lot of the adjustment issues you might run into with somebody who uh, had a visual loss later in life. Because again, you can't necessarily miss something you've never had. So there's not a lot of those hangups a lot.
Hmm.
But with those folks, a lot of times you have to explore or spend more time on things like just exploring basic concepts like directionality, things, or just exploring things that most people that have a visual memory would understand completely, like what does a mailbox look like?
Hmm.
What does a curb cut look like?
Hmm.
Things like that. But again, so on the flip side, for somebody who does go visually impaired later in life, it is easier if they have that visual memory that you don't necessarily have to spend too much time trying to explain these things or having them explore them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, on top of that is though you might run into some of the behaviors where it's like, again, the self-pity,
Mm-hmm.
the lack of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of, so you have to kind of fight through that just to make sure that they're getting back to where they need to be and they are confident in their own independent travel.
Right. No, as you know, I was
Oh,
one
I
of
am
those
aware.
people. It took me a great long time. I do not wish to admit how long, but I eventually started using my cane. And Doug, you were right. You were
Weird.
right.
Weird.
I know.
Hmm.
Hmm. And this is why we get along so well now, because you were the only person who was like, Haley, cut it out. You're fine. You're going to make it through this. And you were very blunt with me, which I needed to hear. And you gave me the confidence to cross the street when I'm coming into work and know how to use my mobility cane or when I need to, because I don't always need to use my cane. Like
Hmm.
in the office, I don't use my cane. Outside, crossing that street right there,
Hmm.
yes,
It's a busy street out there too.
absolutely, absolutely. So
But in your defense though,
I was young.
that is not unusual for that age.
Yeah.
Those kids that are like middle school or high school kids, they do not want to be different.
Nope.
They do not want to use the cane
Nope.
for the most part. I mean, there's some that are all about it, which is fantastic,
Yeah.
but most of them will fight it to some extent.
Yes.
And it's like, I understand that completely, but sometimes you just have to say, okay, listen,
This is where I'm at.
this is where you're at. This is where we need to be. Let's work on it from here and let's
Hmm.
just go on. And again, I always joke with them. I said, listen, I go, you're not going to thank me next week. 10 years from now,
Yeah.
15 years from now, you're going to
Yes.
thank me.
Yes. Absolutely.
So it's kind of a delayed reaction,
It is. It is. And you're 100% right. I didn't want to look different. I just wanted to survive school because I was going through college and learning how to be vision impaired. That was kind of dumb on my part, but I think I needed that. And once I built up my confidence and explaining what my vision is to like professors and people and stuff like
Hmm.
that, then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to start using my cane now. And
Yeah.
you don't have to use it every time, just when you need it.
Well, and that's just it. It's also understanding when it is important to
Hmm.
use it. Sure, getting around your house might not be that important because you
Yeah,
probably know that like the back of your hand
sometimes.
sometimes. But, out in the public, again, that answers a lot of questions for folks because
Hmm.
just by looking at you,
Yeah.
I'd never be able to tell that there was anything going on there.
Nope.
So I'm like, that'd be like, why
Why
is
is
this
she
girl, yeah, why is this
behaving
lady doing
weird?
this weird thing going on here? But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it. But I think that that's a big thing, obviously, for younger folks too.
Hmm.
Again, it's just back to that. I don't want to look different. I don't
Yep.
want people to perceive me different.
Yep.
But the thing is, though, it's better for them to see them taking responsibility for their own safety,
Hmm.
and people will respect that. And I tell them all the time when
I
we're out in
agree.
public, 9 times out of 10, if something happens, that reaction from other people is going to be so much better.
Hmm. It
Unless
is.
you just run into them without a cane, they're going to be thinking, "What's
This is
wrong with
so
you?" Yeah,
rude.
yeah, rude. What's going on?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? But yet, if they turn around and they see you have a cane, they'll be like, "Oh, okay. Hey,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Didn't see you
Yeah. Like
coming."
honest mistake.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
like it's all good.
Yeah.
And I tell them, but of course, they're like, "I don't think so." I'm like, "Okay, let's
Yeah.
try it.
100%
Let's
right.
go bump into somebody. Let's see how that goes for you."
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't really like that idea either.
Not so much. I know. I know. But no, you're right. When I was a vocational counselor, I would also have to step by step go through it with individuals and say, okay, why are you afraid of using this cane? Let's go through it. And then I would share my experience about how much positive feedback I would get when I would use my cane and crossing streets or going to the store. Like people are just more nice in a way, like more verbally nice about
Yeah,
things.
more
Like,
apt to be
yes,
positive in that interaction.
yes.
Exactly.
And it was really nice because there are times when you're dealing with vision loss, you're like, the world is terrible. I don't like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start using your cane and you're like, oh, wait, the world is not bad. I'm just not okay in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But once you've gotten over that hurdle, though, I
oh,
think
yeah.
it opens up a whole world
It
to you.
does.
You're like, hey, listen, yeah, okay, I have some other things to deal with here, but this is something I don't need to worry about anymore.
No. And honestly, now I'm not as anxious in social settings.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit, but that's expected. That's normal.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like the level of anxious that I was before I started using my cane was just through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I don't have to explain to people why I'm not looking at them, or maybe I do a little bit, but not half as much.
Yeah.
And it just takes all of that stress away.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
It answers a lot of
It
questions.
does. And if people don't know, they will ask sometimes. And I appreciate the ask.
Yeah, and most of the time, people are just more curious
Yes. Yes.
than trying to be condescending or anything. And they're just,
Yes.
again, they want to know
How do you
yeah,
function?
how to help you.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing is they don't know how to help you.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
they will ask. And again, it's not that they're trying to be mean.
Nope.
It's just the fact that they're interested in learning how to do it correctly.
Yeah. Um, I'll tell you, I think I told you this story, but it was like snowing and we had to go to maybe Columbia or something. So we had to leave pretty early. And so here I am dressed up in heels and I'm trying to walk in the snow and I had like 5 different bags on me and I was just trying to use my cane because the snow was really high, especially at the curbs. And this random one other guy was like, do you need help maybe crossing the street? Because I was trying to see if it was ice or water. I can't always tell the difference. And I was like, actually, I do. And so he came out and he's like, can I offer you my arm? And I was like, yes, please. Thank you. And he's like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you are a very dedicated worker for going in. I was like, I know. Because we were the only people walking. But he was curious enough, but also knew I might need help. And I
Yeah.
was like, this is the best feeling ever to like know that people are there to help you if you need it.
Well, and that's what I try to get across to everybody too. It's like, unfortunately, they also have a responsibility to help educate the public.
Exactly.
And again,
Exactly.
my advice to them is just stay positive.
Hmm.
Approach it like you are teaching them something positive,
Exactly.
and that again, they're trying to help you. So don't be snarky.
Yep.
Don't treat them like they're not smart enough to already understand, because I can
Yes.
tell you there's a lot of misunderstanding out in the world about how you're supposed to be doing things.
Yes.
So it's like, just be patient, explain it calmly, do your thing, and it's probably going to be okay.
Yes. I 100% agree and support that statement.
Yep.
So that brings me into another thing that I kind of want you to explain. How do you tell people how to help you as a vision impaired person? Are they just going to grab your cane?
Well, they better not. I know
I
we've
knew you were
had
gonna
that,
say that.
we've had that discussion several times. Yes. Oh, please, 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 do not just go up and grab somebody's cane. That is a
Mhm.
big no-no.
I can't even tell you how many times we saw that when we worked
Oh,
together.
a lot.
So
A
many
lot.
times.
And again, it's not a leash. It's like,
Not.
yeah, the best thing to do is just ask everybody. Again, just like everybody else, everybody's level of assistance is going to be different.
Hmm.
Just calmly go up to them, announce yourself, tell them who you are, because
Hmm.
again, some person just wandered up off the street
Yep.
might not be real safe to them, so they need to know that it's okay, that you're willing to identify yourself to them.
Hmm.
Say, hey, I noticed you seemed a little, turned
Lost.
around or looked a little confused. Is there anything I can help you with? Just ask them simply about what they need, because trust me, some people might need a lot of help,
Hmm.
and other people are like, oh, well, hey, I'm just a little turned around. Could you just, point me in the right direction? And I
Hmm.
think I could get it going.
Hmm.
Yeah, just ask them. I mean, that's super simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely make sure you tell them who you are,
Who
because
you are.
that is scary. It has happened to me where somebody comes up and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know you, but
Mhm.
maybe it's okay that you help me.
Yeah, and please just don't go up and grab somebody.
Oh my gosh, no.
Please don't do that.
No. No. And don't if you see the crosswalk going, don't grab them and say, let's
Drag them.
go.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. I don't know you, but
But that is one thing I do try to impart on people. It's like, if you are standing at a crosswalk, and you're pretty sure it's not safe to go, and somebody does start crossing and you notice that, don't necessarily trust them because people cross against the light
Yes.
all the time.
Yes.
So, unless they are willing to stay with you and walk with you, do
Hmm.
not cross when you don't think it's safe to cross.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. And don't underestimate how much you think a person can or cannot see. You just
Uh-huh.
can't
No,
ever.
you can't always
No.
judge that.
Mm-mm.
Again, just by looking at you, I think everything was completely cool.
Yeah.
You
And then
don't
you
wear
realize
you
that
don't wear
I'm nuts.
glasses, so I'm thinking, okay, everything must be fine. I'm like, okay,
Yep.
even
Doo,
if
doo, doo.
but then again, even if you do have glasses, and you still
It
have a
wouldn't
cane,
say.
that to me would say, well, they are at least seeing a little bit.
Hmm.
But just because somebody has glasses on doesn't mean that they actually help them,
Yes.
because some people have worn glasses all their life and they're still just wearing them out of habit,
Yes.
even though they might not help them anymore.
Yes.
And some people might just wear them for safety.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, they're basically using them as safety glasses and they're just comfortable because they're the glasses they've worn all their life.
Yeah. Because you never know when a tree is right in front of your face,
Yep.
kind of hanging down.
Yep.
I might have experienced that a couple times.
Well, and again, people are very guarded, particularly if they do have some
Yes.
residual functional vision,
Yes.
is that they are very protective of their eyes
Yep.
because they don't want that little bit to go away.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And what is it called when you're using your functional vision all day and then you just get real tired?
Yeah, just fatigue.
I'm super protective of that. So I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay, leave me alone.
It's like, yeah, if you're running around and you start developing a headache, just
Hmm.
the fact that you're trying to focus so hard on seeing things all day long.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to probably end up with a tension headache.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, it happens all the time.
100%. 100%.
Hmm.
It's a crazy thing.
But
Low vision is so hard though because you're trying to be in two different worlds, the
hmm
sighted world and the blind world, and you don't quite fit into either.
yeah, yeah,
And then
it's
trying to
tricky.
explain to people like just because I'm using a cane doesn't mean I'm blind.
Yeah. But really, but again, if you can approach it like, hey, listen, yeah, this is another small burden
Hmm.
I have to bear. Listen,
Yep.
I'll just, as long as you're okay with just doing that every once in a while. I mean, again,
Hmm.
it's not a big deal.
It's not.
Just do it. And
Yep.
again, it's not, again, not that, and even if somebody is trying to help you and they screw up,
Yeah, and just
don't,
it's okay.
don't be mad at them.
No.
It's like, listen, they're just trying to be,
Mhm.
again, but that's that education piece.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is great. Thank you for helping me. But hey, could we do it this way?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty
Yes.
simple, and 99% of the time
Fine.
they're gonna be okay with
Yeah.
that. So yeah,
Yeah. It's just a new world. They're not used to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody has room to grow,
Yep.
so help them grow.
Yep. That kind of leads me. I want to talk a little bit about sighted guide more.
Mhm.
We've kind of
Or
talked about it.
human guide, as they call
Human
it
guide.
now.
Yes.
Human guide.
Oh, that's right. They did change it, didn't they?
Yeah, I think the new term is human guide, but when I was going to school, it was called sighted
Can we
guide.
just call it sighted guide?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
what I still call it. So.
I'm not okay to make that change yet in my head. Okay. So for those who don't know, could you give a brief overview of sighted
Sighted
guide?
slash human guide.
Yes.
Basically, it's the skills that you would use to help guide somebody through an environment safely and effectively. It's basically what you're kind of in a nutshell acting kind of like a guide dog,
Mhm.
where you're taking them around things they would have bumped into, fallen into, tripped over, things like that, and just kind of assisting them through the environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are they grabbing you around the waist? Are they grabbing your neck? That's weird.
Textbook is where they
Mhm.
would be holding onto your upper arm just above the elbow.
Upper
And
arm above the
just
elbow.
above the elbow, and they would be a half step behind you to the left or the right, whatever's more convenient for you or more comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they're just going to kind of walk with you at a fairly normal pace.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, if you feel like you're being drug along and just too fast, again, it's one of those things where you have to kind of find a happy medium with these folks. Just allow them, to say, hey, could we slow down a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if you're slowing them down too much, it's like, listen, again, they're trying. It's like you should be able to walk at a fairly normal pace
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing that kind of thing.
Yep.
So,
And it's super important that your hand is here because then if they stop, if they're a step ahead of you, you can feel that and you can prepare yourself
Yep.
to stop if you need
Yep.
to.
And that's why that it's important to have them just slightly behind you when you're
Hmm.
guiding them, and just that way they can actually react to what you're doing.
Hmm.
Because if you have to come to a screeching stop, they can do a little half stutter step and be able to stop themselves. Because if they were walking directly beside you, or like if you were doing arm in arm or hand in hand, and
Hmm.
you're walking along, if they had to stop suddenly, more than likely you're taking at least one additional step forward.
Yeah.
And even that little bit might get you in trouble in case it was something they didn't even notice.
Hmm. And you got to think about balance issues
Hmm.
and if they're using a mobility cane and the other cane.
Support cane.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've.
Yeah. That's kind of a big thing too. It's like if they're leaning too much on you, if they're
Hmm.
really looking to have additional support, you might need to have a little discussion with them about what's happening and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we're doing. I mean, that kind of opens a whole other can of worms too. But again, you
Yeah.
just have to kind of adjust. It's not always going to be picture perfect all the time, but
Nope.
again, just talk it out with them. They'll
Yeah.
be able to help you.
Communication.
Communication is
Communication is the key.
the
Wow.
key.
Let's see here. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about those things. Remind me again how long you've been doing mobility instructions.
Too long.
Too
Nope.
long?
What year is it?
I don't know. That's
This will be
25.
my 21st year.
Oh my gosh. So you've been in it for a while.
For a minute.
Yeah. Have a
Yeah.
lot of things changed in that time period of like how to teach or what you see new mobility instructors coming out and doing?
The only thing that I really noticed that was significantly different was I've noticed that a lot of the student teachers that I've worked with in the last couple of years are now also teaching what they call flagging. And that's not it's a technique where you're at a street corner, and before you initiate your movement, you actually kind of sweep your cane up and down, just to basically where you're kind of identifying. And I know this is different from program to program,
Okay.
but when I went through the program, I was told not to teach that because people were actually hitting people with their
Oh
canes
yeah, yeah, yeah.
accidentally. But now it seems like most of the programs are teaching that again. So, and again, I'm not opposed to that technique. And again, actually, I think it actually works. And I think there actually has been some work. If I remember, there's always new studies on these kind of things, like what is better to
Hmm.
initiate a crossing. And there's tons of information out there.
Hmm.
And again, I just think that that is really the only one thing that was literally drilled into my head when I was going through the program. Was saying, don't teach that because it's not safe. And now all of a sudden, all the teachers are like, oh yeah, they've said that this is the way we need to teach this. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, again, things change,
Yeah. Yeah.
even from program to program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about like there was like one school or whatever, but are there multiple schools that you can go to for mobility training
There,
online here in Missouri?
uh, I think the only one, I'm not sure what the status on Missouri State is at this point. I know they did have a program, but I had heard that was kind of going away.
Hmm.
I wasn't 100% sure where they are with that. I know obviously you can still go to UALR down in Little Rock.
Okay. Yes, I knew about
I
that one.
think Michigan still has their program. Texas A&M. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of other smaller ones around the country. I mean, I'm sure if you just Google
Hmm.
orientation mobility programs, I mean, you'll immediately get your list.
Yeah.
But those are kind of the ones that would probably be a little quote unquote closer to
Hmm.
here.
Yeah, but you still have to be willing to like
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah, either go there or, do obviously their online thing. Because what I
Mhm.
did is I did all of my actual coursework
Mhm.
online, but then I had to do those 2-month-long stints down at UALR at the Missouri or at the Arkansas School for the Blind, where we actually did our practicum work. And we
Mhm.
did I mean, I guess technically we were in class during the summer because it was a class,
Mhm.
but we were actually in house, actually working with the kids
Ooh,
there at the School for the Blind, which
yeah.
was fantastic. Don't get me wrong, that was a great experience, and it was really nice that I had that opportunity to do that. And I know even at the time I did it, most of the coursework was actually in house too. So it was almost like a 3-year program even before came on board. Because I know you had to go down there for 3 summers
Mm.
instead of 2. So
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I think all the programs are kind of arranged a little bit different. But I'd say 2 years is probably a pretty safe bet.
Well, I mean, I would appreciate that as somebody who was going through that program, because that could be really scary coming into it and not fully understanding it.
Hmm.
Because you never fully understand a program until you're through it.
Yeah,
But wowzers, wowzers.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's an interesting field. If you're looking for a job that literally every day you work is going to be something different,
Well, and the
this is
need is there.
this is the job for you, and there's really a need for it.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly in a lot of the rural areas around the country. I
Hmm.
mean, some of these places. I mean, these people are traveling for hours and hours to get to some of their folks that they work with.
Oh my goodness.
And so I think even when I was going through it, I think the state of Wyoming had literally one person doing O&M for the entire state.
For the entire
The
state?
entire state.
Oh my gosh.
But if you think about how rural that state is, I mean,
Yes.
I talked to this guy because I met him at Leader Dogs
Hmm.
at the school there when was at that tour, and he said that he literally Monday morning he drove all the way to the other end of the state because he lived on the far eastern side of the state. He drove all the way across the state, and then every day he just worked his way back closer and closer. And literally every night he stayed at the same hotel
Hmm.
every week, where he just had to stay and then visit his clients as he worked his way back across
Yep.
the state. And then back on Friday, he'd be back, by his hometown.
Hmm.
And then he'd be the weekend. And then Monday morning, drive all the way back across the state and work.
I bet. I hope he got paid a lot for
I
that.
better hope he did
Because
too.
that is exhausting just hearing that.
Yeah. Well, even doing what I'm doing now, working
Hmm.
contract work with a lot of school districts, is the fact that, I mean, some of these districts
They're not.
are there. There's not a lot of people doing orientation mobility. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people doing TVI work.
Okay, what's a TVI?
That's the teacher for the visually impaired,
Hmm.
and doing a lot of that type of work. But the actual O&M part, and I know a lot of folks anymore are dual certified,
Hmm.
which is fantastic. But yeah, it's like I've received calls. I mean, I'm here in Kansas City, and I've had calls from as far away as like Cape Girardeau and
Whoa.
down around Springfield.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, and they're just like, we can find nobody to come out here to help us.
Hmm.
And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I go, that's a long way.
Yeah. And then you think about how much independence that person is probably wanting to be able
Hmm.
to just walk down the street, the sidewalk,
Hmm.
and be safe, but not always knowing how.
Yeah. And that's sad too, particularly when the school districts have to scramble to try to find somebody.
Hmm.
And a lot of times it's really hard for them to find folks that are doing this type of work. But yeah, I
Wowzers.
mean, like, and I can only imagine how it is in some of the other states, but particularly the really rural areas, like say like Montana or something, but they might have different setups. I know Iowa has a whole setup where even the schools are kind of managed with that type of work through the state,
Hmm.
and not individual contract stuff, kind of like what I do here in Missouri.
Hmm. Okay.
So I mean, it might be different in different places, but I know in
Mm.
certain areas it's pretty thin.
Yeah.
But so if, I mean, if there's work to be had if you're willing to travel.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And be able to think on your feet real quick and
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
the things. Oh
Yep.
my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you got to map out the area before a little bit, sometimes to a degree if you can.
Yeah. Well, it's always good to know what you're dealing with as
Hmm.
far as, I mean, there's some of my areas that are so rural. It's like, listen, it's like, I'd love to do some of these skills, but you're going to have to meet me somewhere else,
Hmm.
because, if everything within a 10-mile radius of your place is all gravel road,
Yeah.
it's like, it might be better if we met in town to talk about some street crossing. I mean, you still there's still ways to teach rural, road
Yeah.
crossings and things. But again, there's some of the skills. It's like, or hey, let's talk about elevators and escalators. But the nearest escalator is 20 miles away.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. So I mean, you have to kind of look at those kind of things too, and figure out what you can and can't do. And
Hmm.
you got to do a little site survey of your area to see what street corners might be better to
Hmm.
teach somebody a street crossing on.
Good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's why you're so good at knowing the street names and the directions. And I'm just like,
Okay. Well, okay. I'll get you there. I won't always remember the actual name, but I'll be able to get you back
know
there.
most of it. You know most of it. I could never keep up with you. You're like, oh yeah, this street and this street. And I'm like, uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Well, and that's, with a lot of folks, heck, there's people that even I worked with when I was working with adults, they knew the street grid
Oh, yeah.
better than some of the GPS
I've
units. I
seen
mean,
that.
it's like, but again, that's that whole survival
Mhm.
mode you have to almost get into. It's like, listen,
Yes.
I need to be able to orient myself.
Yes.
So I need to understand how the streets work and where they're laid out. And like, hey, I've realized that I am literally 3 blocks away from where I need to be. And
Mhm.
what do I need to do to get to the point where I need to be?
Mhm.
I mean, so yeah, to be able
Yeah.
to learn those things, and I was laughing what some of my clients would do funny things like with GPS, like if they were riding the paratransit cab, where they would literally drive the paratransit cab, depending on their schedule, would literally drive past where they needed to be dropped off because
Mhm.
they had an earlier drop off for somebody else that was in there.
Mhm.
And they'd be driving by like, hey, you could have just dropped me off. You literally drove right past it.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Well, I'm sorry,
We
we have to keep
can't.
to our schedule because you're
Yep.
over here." And it's like, yeah.
Yep. I have experienced that, but
Mhm.
yeah, I do track it sometimes because I'm like, I don't know what area we're in, and there could be like 2 other people in the car, so it's like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yes, I have experienced that, and I also like to monitor how fast the individual is driving
And yeah.
because I've been in a very scary situation where the guy was swerving into different lanes and he was going so fast. Like I was so stressed out, Doug. I made a
Yeah.
phone call
I
afterwards.
believe it.
I was like, "Please do not ever put me with that person again. I
Mhm.
cannot do that."
Mhm.
And it was a long ride. It was a
Yep.
long ride.
Mhm.
So,
Yep. I get it.
the things we go through, Doug.
I know.
The things we go through.
I know.
But
Well, and that's a funny thing too is a lot of the big thing has always been for, decades is, make sure you're getting people out to practice riding the bus. It's
yes.
not riding the bus anymore. It's practice doing ride share, where
Mhm.
it's like Uber, Lyft, things like that.
Yes.
Because I mean, I've had kids be like, "I'm never riding the bus." I was like, "Well, the
You
bus goes right in front of your house, and
yeah,
it's going to these other places right by the store." And they're like,
right
"Well,
there.
they're like, no, it's the bus. I'm not riding the bus. I'm going to use Uber." And I'm like,
But
I'm
it's
like, okay,
free.
it's free. Well, for now,
Yeah, for
for
now.
now.
We don't know what that looks like in the
Yeah, we don't know.
future.
Yeah, that might be changing here in Kansas
You are
City real
not
quick.
wrong.
I just heard a little bit about that on the news the other day, and I was like, whoop, I'm knocking things over. Sorry. Um, but yeah, but yeah, that's a big thing. That's a big mindset thing too with kids.
Yeah,
It's kind of you have to be like, listen,
I
come
was
on.
there. I was there.
I know.
I get it.
But you never rode
Yeah,
you
I
did you
did.
ride the bus to work?
Yeah, when I was living in
Oh,
Independence.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because I
Okay.
accidentally took the wrong bus when I wasn't
Yeah.
going. I was by myself.
Yeah,
It
that's
went to
always
the
a good
same
time.
place. It just took
Or
longer.
when you have somebody that falls asleep on the bus and
Oh
then
my
misses their
god.
stop. Yeah, I had that happen before. That was super fun. I was like,
Yep.
"How'd that work out?" They're like, "Oh, I just woke up and I rode it all the way around." And so they had to go all the way to the end of the route, had to come back
Yes.
around, and then literally turn around again to get dropped off on the
Yep.
right side of the street. And I was like, "Oh, I bet that was a long ride."
Yes, it was.
I think that was that person was on the Truce bus, and that's a long route.
Oh wow,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. So I
Ooh,
was like, "Oh, you were on the bus for a while, weren't you?"
lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Don't fall asleep on the bus.
Maybe shock yourself.
Fall asleep. Yep. Oh, adventures in bus travel.
Yeah, yeah, and you have to be very comfortable with being not comfortable sometimes.
Yeah, but people being a little too curious
Yeah.
sometimes because
Mhm.
they're real curious about the cane,
Yep.
particularly if I'm out working with kids.
Yes.
And it freaks some of them out because
Mhm.
they're not used to that type of attention.
Yes.
And I tell all of them, and most of them usually are about middle school, is about where I started introducing bus travel. And I am working with several of my students now on that. I tell them, I was like, you need to brace yourself because there's some people that are some real characters that ride the
Yes.
bus that are probably going to be real curious about what you're doing,
Mhm.
how you're seeing things.
Mhm.
It's like you need to be able to answer these questions, but you also need to learn those soft skills about how to kind of end those conversations
Mhm.
appropriately.
Mhm. And I mean, that's hard to teach adults
Oh,
sometimes. So
absolutely.
teaching that to a little kiddo.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
trust
my
me.
goodness.
Yeah, some of them come off like shell shock, like, "Why was that lady talking to me?"
I don't
And I'm like,
understand.
"Calm down.
Yeah.
She was just curious."
Yeah. It's so hard to know though sometimes. And visual cues are so prevalent
Yep,
in today's world that
yep.
it's hard to always understand.
Yeah, and a lot of times I think that frustrates them too because,
Mhm.
like, well, not even them, but the people that are trying to engage with them because
Yes.
they're like, like you said, they're trying to do things visually, like wave at them or
Yep.
whatever, and then the kids aren't reacting to them, and
Yep.
they're like, why is this kid being rude to me? I'm like,
Yep.
the kid can't see
Yep.
you.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
that's why they have the cane,
Yep.
and I'm always there with them, obviously, but I
Yeah.
just sit there and I just kind of chuckle, and I mean, it is funny though because people can really be way overly helpful
Yes.
sometimes, and
Yes.
I literally almost had one of my poor girls almost abducted by this older retired couple that just would not let it go, that they were just determined to save her and take her
Mhm.
home,
Mhm.
in their car. And I was like, no, 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 no. And
No.
luck, and to her credit, though, she fended them off pretty well. But I
Aw.
was just cracking up watching this interaction because they just kept following her, and
They
I could
meant
see that she
well.
was like, no, 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 I'm
Mhm.
good, I'm good. Like, and they finally walked back up to where I was. I just let them follow. I was just watching this,
Mhm.
and then finally, when they got within a few feet of me, they were like, they could see me literally laughing. I mean, I was cackling. They were like, "Oh, are you her teacher?" I went, "Yeah." I go, they're like, "Oh, we were so worried about her. We thought she was lost and we were going to help her and drive her home." And I'm like, "She's fine. I
Mhm.
appreciate your help. Okay, thanks."
Mhm.
After they left, she was like, "They would not let it go." And
Mhm.
I'm like,
Yes.
"Not let it go."
I roll my eyes because I've experienced it, and I think we all have in this world. It's how much is too much help, you know?
Hmm.
And please just let me remain independent to the best of my ability. If I
Yeah.
need help, I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
But
Yeah, I had a lady who there was a gentleman who stopped his car right there at the intersection,
mhm.
got out of his car,
Oh
and
no.
helped her across the street with a line of like 12 cars behind him honking because they had the green light.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I'm going to help this lady.
Yeah.
Who cares about what's going on behind me? I'm going to help this person," because he thought he was doing the right thing, which
Yeah.
God bless him, he was.
Yeah.
But he was kind of holding up traffic. And I was like, you were really pushing it because some of those people might not have been so nice about that.
Yeah, and they could have gone around
Got
him
around
and
him. But
oh my
yeah.
goodness. Oh,
So, but I was like,
he meant
I was
well.
like, that was a first.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That was a first.
So many stories.
Oh, I know.
Oh, good Lord. Well, if it's okay with you, I'd like to just take a quick ad break.
Sure.
Come back after we get some water, whatever
Sure.
you need, and
Okay.
then we'll just get right back into it.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. We are so excited to share all the information in our episodes that we are doing a part 2. So please join us for that. We are so excited. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on our podcast. Today, I'm going to go through some of the monthly events that the Whole Person hosts. Again, my name is Haley Korf. I am your vision impaired host today, so bear with me. I've got a lot of notes here, okay? All right, the first event is Getting Social. It's the first Friday of every month. The next event is Time to Spare, and that is the third Wednesday of every month. That is our accessible bowling open to everyone who has a disability. The next event is Mind's Eye View, and that is the first Monday of every month. That is more geared towards people who are vision impaired or blind to get together and talk about some of the difficulties. Then after that, we have our DIY skills for young adults, age range 18 through 24, and that is the last Wednesday of every month. Brain Injury Peer Support Group, the second Thursday of every month. And then Tech Talk, the second Monday of the month. And that is also geared towards people who are vision impaired or blind to get together and talk a little bit more about accessibility issues. If you have any more questions, feel free to look it up at thewholeperson.org. And again, please join us for any event at any time. Thank you.